So in this video we are going to discuss about cold stress. So in the previous session we have discussed about heat stress. Now it is cold stress. So when the temperatures go down, the body maintains its temperature by reducing the blood flow to the skin. This causes a marked decrease in the skin temperature. Most extreme effect is on the extremities like fingers, toes, earlobes, and nose. When hands and fingers become so cold, they become numb and insensitive, and there is an increased possibility of accidents. If the restriction of the blood flow to the skin is not adequate to the maintained temperature, then shivering happens. Harmful effects of exposure to cold stress include frostbite, the freezing parts of the body, particularly fingers, toes, earlobes, and nose. The first warning is a sharp pricking sensation. However, the numbness caused by the cold increases the chances of frostbite occurring without warning. Injuries vary from redness of the skin, numbness, and loss of skin to the loss of the body part. Immersion food. So this is another effect, that is injury to the skin without freezing after long exposure to cold combined with dampness or contact with water. Injuries vary from swelling, tingling, itching, and pain to the loss of skin. Hypothermia, inability of the body to maintain the core temperature, can lead to hallucinations, sleeplessness, irregular heartbeat, unconsciousness, and even death. So these are some harmful effects when we have exposure to cold stress. So preventing cold stress may be accomplished by wearing several layers of loosely fitted dry clothes that can be adjusted to maintain the changing in temperatures. Keep extremities warm. A top layer of windproof clothing is very useful if there is a wind. Okay, making sure you're not becoming overheated, sweaty, and that your extremities are not becoming numb. And if you become chilled and sleepy and develop pain, cold in your extremities, you need to seek warm shelter. So these are the things you can go for in order to prevent the cold stress. Radiation. Another type of physical hazard often encountered during construction activities is various forms of radiation. The radiation is energy which is transmitted, emitted, or absorbed in wave or energy form. It's the form of energy that each of us encounters every day. The radiation from the sun, visible light, and heat are examples and very familiar to everyone. Radiation divided in two major categories based on its effect on living tissues: non-ionizing and ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation has the ability to destroy, change the atomic structure of the cells. Non-ionizing radiation does not have that particular characteristics. Some type of non-ionizing radiation that we are exposed to daily, day-to-day basis are microwave energy used for cooking, radio waves energy used in broadcasting, radio and television. Types of ionizing radiation that we are exposed to are cosmic rays from the sun, stars, terrestrial radiation from the earth, medical radiation from the X-rays and lasers. So these are some examples of ionizing radiation. In non-ionizing radiation, we have some example like microwave energy, radio waves, etc. So it's very important that we know this kind of two important radiation type, that is non-ionizing and ionizing radiation. What we will see what the of effects of both type of radiation. Since eye is the very primary organ at risk on all type of non-ionizing radiation, eye protection is very important. Okay? So the protective glass should be selected based on the type of radiation exposure. For example, sunlight or building flashes. Okay. So similar, depending upon the type of work, we need to go for different protective gearing. Okay. Ionizing radiation is so named that it is having enough energy to ionize atoms and molecules, building block of all matter. There are four natural type of ionizing radiation, that's alpha, beta, gamma, and neutron particles. So the internal hazard exists if alpha particles have been swallowed, inhaled, or absorbed through broken skin. Protective clothing should be used to prevent the contamination of the skin. So the beta particles are both internal and external hazard. Externally, they damage the skin and eyes. Internally, they damage any tissue they come in contact with. So they have both kind of hazard, okay, internal and external. Skin burns are a result from excessive high dose of beta radiation. Even skin burn can happen. Gamma radiation has the ability to penetrate completely through the body, So the gamma radiation has high concentration here, okay, when compared to alpha and beta. So excessive exposure of living tissue to ionizing radiation has harmful effects on cells, ranging from inhibition of cell function to impairment or death. The extent of damage depending upon the radiation dosage and organs exposed. Some organs are more susceptible to radiation than others. The effects of low dosage radiation may be so delayed that they can only be detected by medical observations. Health hazards. Health hazards are caused by many chemical or biological exposure that interacts adversely with the organs within our body, causing illnesses and injuries. Majority of chemical exposures resulting from inhaling chemical contaminants in the form of vapor, gases, dust, fumes, mist, or any skin absorption of these materials. Degree of hazard depending upon the length of exposure time, amount, and quantity of the chemical agent. The type and severity of the body's response is related to dose and nature of specific contaminant present. The air that looks dirty or has an offensive odor may in fact pose no threat whatsoever to the tissues of the respiratory system. In contrast, some gases are odorless and at least non-offensive and cause severe tissue damage. The particles that normally cause lung cancer cannot be even seen. Many times, large visible clouds of dust are a good indicator that small particles may also be present. Sometimes the job-related injuries or illness are temporary. You can recover completely. Over the time, as in the case of chronic lung disease like causes of cancer, permanent changes may lead to death. Okay, so you just see what are the different ill effects associated with this phenomena. Okay, when it is impossible to prevent exposure to harmful materials, the next best protection is to reduce exposure to the use of various control measures. Controlling hazards and informing employees of any danger are the contractor's responsibilities. Okay, so when you can't able to prevent anything, you can go for controlling it. Okay? Controlling it like informing them or giving some space, safe workplace safety, enhancing the workplace safety. Okay? These are some responsibilities of the contract. Controlling hazards can be implemented in following sequences depending upon the circumstance. Substitution slash elimination. That's engineering. Engineering means you do something, providing some ventilation, yeah, such sort of thing. Administrative measures like rotating the workers, education, training to them. So that is the third option. The last option would be PP. So we can give some person protective equipments. The last control method that should be implemented is PPE, which is unfortunately sometimes the first control used in the projects. Some, this is the actual thing that is happening in the projects. Okay, we don't go for eliminating the hazard or engineering or administrative measures; they directly go for PPE. Okay, which is not right. Acute health effects. So we are going to discuss about the different health effects, like acute and chronic health effects. Okay, acute means which can be seen very quickly. The health effect which can be seen in a short-term exposure, that is acute, which is usually after exposure to higher concentration of hazardous material. So it has occurred, for example, when we are exposed to ammonia while using another cleaning agent, it may have both immediate and delayed effects on the body. So immediate effect, that is called acute. So nitrogen dioxide poisoning can be followed by the signs of brain impairment, such as confusion, lack of coordination, behavior changes, days, weeks after the recovery. Okay. The chemicals that cause acute effect on breathing, some chemicals irritate lungs or sensitize the lungs. Fluoride, sulfate, and chloride, all found in the various welding and soldering process. During welding and soldering, the materials combine with the moisture in the air to form hydrofluoric, sulfuric, and hydrochloric acid. All three can severely burn skin, eyes, and respiratory tract. So high levels can overwhelm the lungs, burning and blistering them and causing pulmonary edema, in which fluids building up in the lungs causing shortness of breath and, if severe enough, can cause death. Okay, these are some you know uh, effects of acute exposure. Okay, so we'll see what is chronic health effects. The chronic exposure occurs during longer or repetitive periods of contact, sometimes over years, and often relatively low concentration of exposure. So, repetitively are going to some low concentration of exposure over some time period or some years, we come across this kind of chronic health effects. Per- Chloroethylene or alcohol, for example, may cause severe liver damage or even cancers 10 or 40 years after the first. So chronic disease is not always a cancer. There are many types of chronic disease which can be as serious as cancer, and this chronic disease affects the function of different organs of body. For example, chronic exposure to asbestos or silica dust causes scarring of the lung. Exposure to gases like nitrogen oxide or ozone or lead to destruction of the parts of lung. No matter what the cause, the chronic disease of the lungs will make the individual feel short of breath and limit their activity. Okay. Ultimately, the worker will get leads to. I mean, workers' productivity is actually, affected, and it leads to the death of the worker. Okay, depending upon the extent of disease, the chronic lung disease can kill. In fact, it is one of the most common causes of. The chronic liver disease can cause individual to be tired all the time, have the muscles waste away, causing swelling of the stomach from fluid accumulation. Many chemicals such as carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, and alcohol can cause causes of the liver. The brain is also affected by chronic exposure. Chemicals such as lead can cause IQ, a decrease in the IQ, decreasing the ability of the to remember things and to make someone more irritable. Many times these changes are small and can be found only in some special medical tests. The workers exposed to solvents such as olivine, xylene in oil-based paints may develop neurological changes over a period of time. So these are some different effects of chronic and acute exposures. So this table will clearly give you some idea about different construction items. You can see here different construction items and their examples in the in the construction site, and what is their entry route, the physical hazard, health hazard, and the targeted organ. What part of the body it affects. Okay. How it can be detected. Okay, that is also given here, and the type of protection. What type of protection you are going to give. For example, you can take a look at. That is item number one, that is abrasives. So it is example of wheels, silicon, sandblasting. We can come across that kind of abrasives. An anti root skin and eye contact. Physical hazard is skin coats, damage to skin, and asbestos coating lung disease. Lungs, eyes will be the target organ, and the type of protection will be respiratory glass, safety glass, face shield, gloves, ventilation, etc. So I can see different example here, different items. So example, you can go for coatings, waterproof, anti-corrosion. These are some examples. Uh, Entry route will be high absorption skin. Okay, the physical hazard is flammable, and the health hazard would be skin dermatitis, nervous system affects mucous membrane irritation. So, directly affects eyes, lungs, and skin. Okay, so these three important organs should be most targeted organ. Okay, it's lungs, skins, and eyes. Okay, how it can be prevented? Like providing ventilation, respirators, gloves, PPE, personal hygiene. Okay, that is also important. So another set of examples is given here. Like I can see, for example, you can go for paint oil-based product. So this is one example that is very relevant to construction projects. That is example enamel thinners and lacquer primers is some example, and flammable, and it affects skin, eyes, lungs. Okay, cancer. So it affects all the organs like lungs, liver, skins, and eyes. So it can be avoided by providing ventilation, respirators, gloves, eye protection, full body clothing. Very important, full body clothing. So these are some examples of different items, and how we going to avoid this kind of disease, illness in our site. How are we going to prevent it by providing some safety device? Okay. So just go through all this data here given here, which is very relevant to construction projects. Thank you.